Hi, we're Mike and Brenda Baker, and today we're going to be talking about unveiling the reality of peace in remarriage, insights for your journey.
So this is actually to answer somebody's question.
Yes.
And they had questions about successful remarriage insight. And so I thought to myself, that's a big term. So let's break it down more simply. All right. For one, let's talk about the truth about peace. Peace, you've got this idea in your head. Okay. Peace is where everybody's getting along. I can do what I want. You can do what you want. Schedules all align. You know, the heavens part, lights come out and angels sing, and it's bull crap. All right. So get that out of your head. This idea that everything is in harmony all the time is not a proper definition of peace. Peace is relative, and it's relative to each couple. All right. Which means that peace is going to look differently for you than it does for your neighbor or for your friends at church or for the people you work with. So never assume that peace has a hard, fast definition.
Right. And so, honestly, a lot of the questions that we've gotten on this topic specifically are all around how to have peace when either the stepchildren or the ex or exes are just stirring up a bunch of trouble and a bunch of drama. And so that's what we're going to be covering here. Peace is really something that comes from within. And so if you're struggling to have peace, then you really have to go back to the basics and find out what it is within yourself that is out of balance, if you will. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think a lot of people forget too that you'll get into another marriage and find that you have exactly the same problems as the last marriage. Well, there's
multiplied.
Yeah, well, sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's one consistent problem with that, and that's you.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that was there for both times was you, which means that you may have to take a minute and get a little introspect as far as what am I doing? What am I not doing? And you're going to have a serious, the number 2 on this is how to achieve peace. And so let's talk about both those a little bit. The truth about peace and how to achieve peace. For one, if you're trying to achieve peace and you haven't talked to your spouse about what peace might look like in your household, then it's one-sided. They may have the idea that peace means total quiet, no noise, no, all finances are good, don't bother me ever. And yours might be, oh, we're cuddling on the couch and we're doing this and we're doing, and my point is very different pictures of peace. And so you need to have that discussion because you're going to have to compromise some of your stuff. They're going to have to compromise some of their stuff so that you guys can actually not achieve peace, but achieve as close to peace as you can. Because in the prior video, we talked about choices. And this is where choices come in. You have to decide as a couple that this is what we're doing. This is our peace. We are a unified front. This is how we achieve it.
Now, if the stepkids or the exes are creating drama, it's none of your business. It's really none of your business what they think of you. Because let's be honest, being a step-parent is hard. You're going to get micromanaged and critiqued no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. You could be the best person on the planet and you would still sometimes, from some kids, get a critique or from some exes. So stop worrying about it. Just do the things that you need to do that are helping your family, that are helping your spouse to move forward, right?
So let me just put a caveat in there, if you will. Okay, this is a blended family situation. You do not need to speak to your kids about what peace looks like. Let me repeat that. You are the adult and you do not need your kids' permission to achieve peace in the household. Now, there are some bio kids and some step kids that will do everything in their power to disrupt that peace. That's why you have to have a unified front with your spouse.
Yeah.
As far as what peace is going to look like. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. If there are things going on in the other house and the other spouse, the ex is doing things that it doesn't matter. That's their house.
It's none of your business.
Unless it's abuse. I'm not justifying abuse. Unless it's abuse, it's none of your business. You can't do anything about it. Leave it alone. Don't ask about it. Don't pry into it. Your job is peace within your own house, which brings us to number 3, which, go ahead.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
It's really, really important to teach your kids that are going back and forth between 2 different households to stop being such gossips. Okay? You don't need to hear the latest, greatest of what they're doing there and what they got and all the trips and all that BS. How is that helping you? How is that helping you with your attitude toward your stepkid?
Mm-hmm.
You're, when you're the one that is paying the child support and alimony, like, how does that make you feel? If your body is reacting to that, you need to listen to your body and stop it. I think that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that we made when our 2 oldest were going back and forth, is we trying to be understanding and give them a place to vent. We let them say a lot of things that we didn't need to hear about what their mom thought about us and about this and about that. Who cares? You divorced said person for a reason. So move on. Let it go.
Don't let them in your house again.
Yeah, don't let those kids come over and tell you all the things. Abuse, yes.
And the answer to that's really simple. Just stop them. Say, hey, if this isn't positive, we don't need to talk about it. Okay. So, number 3, of course, is being that it's time to let things go. Your anger, your disappointment, your hurt feelings, they're not serving you or your family. So what does that mean? That means all that tension that you're holding, let it go. Put boundaries with those kids when they're coming back and forth, and boundaries with your spouse as well. Your spouse should have boundaries with you as far as what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. There were things that we had an issue with one of our sons who kind of walked away, and it didn't split us, but we had opposing views on what was going on. And that was a very, very difficult time. But how did we get through it? We chose to get through it. We chose each other in the end. Neither one of us necessarily had to compromise what we thought.
Right.
We came to an understanding that we had separate thoughts on it, but those thoughts did not have to interfere with our marriage. Okay, you think this? Okay, I think that. Really, we weren't looking to agree. We were looking for the other to just understand how we felt.
Yeah, and so in that situation, what we learned is we both needed to listen to each other more. Mm-hmm. We both needed to hear, to understand what the other was saying, not to reply.
And you don't have to agree to understand. No. There's a difference. Okay, you can understand how somebody feels and why they feel that way and think to yourself, well, I wouldn't do it that way, but I get it. That's all you're really that's all we're saying here is be understanding. You don't have to agree, but that's part of that choosing your spouse. Okay?
And I think that, correct me if you feel like I'm wrong, but I feel like looking back, we were both pretty much saying the same thing, but you were saying it your way and I was saying it my way, and neither of us were wanting to listen to the other.
Yeah, because we were both hurt by the situation.
Yeah, because the situation was very painful, almost as if there was a death. Mm-hmm. It was really, really hard, and it really took a toll on each of us personally for different reasons, and the same reasons. So we weren't very careful to support each other. Yeah. I think if I would have asked you what support looked like to you, would you have been able to tell me at least something I could do that would have helped you?
Well, in the beginning, no.
No, so, but I mean, as
later on,
it went on. Now, this situation that we're speaking of went on for quite a long period of time. Yeah, and we've got other videos. If you just go down, you'll see them. There are other videos talking about that whole situation. Mm-hmm. But I think that we really, if we would have just listened to one another and had empathy rather than anger and aggression, it would have been a lot better. Now, in that time period, my dad died. Some other things happened. We moved, like all these things happened like kind of at the same time. Mike retired from the military. And so we had a lot of feels about a lot of different things. And honestly, it was the whole ball that just made everything more difficult. And I was having major, major hormone issues that were just creating, you know, all sorts of things that I had never in my life dealt with before. And it was just really a difficult time. But I personally, I'm not speaking for you, I personally didn't even think about any of that stuff. Oh, and plus, Mike, they thought something was majorly wrong with Mike right at that time when we had a major issue with one of our kids. So there was a lot that we could have been more understanding toward one another. We got through it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to repeat it the way we did it that time, though, because that was the first time in years that we had such a big issue about something that really didn't, it affected both of us, but it really didn't have anything to do with us.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another thing that I think needs to be added in here. Sometimes when you're dealing with kids, and we're going to talk about this more in the next video, but I think it is, yeah. You know, kids remember what they want to, not always the way things went. So when you have adult stepchildren, even adult children, they're going to remember things the way they saw them and felt about them at the time, okay? They're not going to know all the situations that went around that. So just have understanding and patience with your kids when they bring things up that aren't really the way that they happened. So,
lastly,
sorry, that was long-winded.
No, you're fine. Lastly, the atmosphere these days is different than it was even a few years ago.
Yeah.
So some of you are probably dealing with some things with your kids, your stepkids and your bio kids, that are not what I would consider usual. They weren't things that we had to deal with our kids, but I see them happening. You know, whether it be political division, whether it be religious division, whether it be, it doesn't matter. There's a ton of things to divide families out there right now. And the point is when a kid comes to you and seeks havoc and chaos, although they are trying to tell you that they're really seeking your understanding, and when in truth, you're an adult, okay? And even if the other kid is an adult, you're the adult. Know that sticks and stones still applies, okay?
What do you mean?
I mean, don't get your feelings hurt about it. They don't understand what they're telling you, really, especially in today's climate. They are still trying to wade through all of this muck that they consider feelings, and they're coming to you and making accusations to you and pointing the finger, and you need to let it roll off, okay? Let it roll off. See it as the childish behavior, regardless of their age, that it is. Be the adult. Still love them. Listen, but set a boundary. Don't be afraid to set boundaries. And I'm not saying, get out. I'm saying, hey, that's not okay here. You've said your piece. Conversation's over.
Well, and stand firm.
Stand firm.
Because if it applied when they were kids, it applies now.
And let it go.
What we've learned is that with your adult kids, sometimes you have to be just as firm and immovable as you were when they were growing up. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean stubborn. That means
consistent.
Yeah, and convicted on what you think.
Yeah.
Now, we always give our kids the ability, and we encourage them to come to us if they think that we're wrong about something, okay? We try to have that good dialogue and discuss things. But sometimes discussions get a little heated because we're pretty much all pretty passionate about things. Now, for the most part, that's always been positive, but we've had to work on it as a family with adult kids, because the parent role changes and shifts a little bit, but you're still, like, you're older, you know more than they do. You know, just because they went to college doesn't mean that they know more than you. So don't let your kids push you around as adults. Yeah. So with that, we thank you so much for being here, and we will see you in the next video. All right, bye.